Good morning, colleagues, and welcome to the webinar today. My name is Arnold Gekonge, the organizational lead for Champions for SDGs. So at this point in time, I'd like to share with us a highlight of how our program is going to look like. And right about now, as our guests are continuing to join, we are getting into the opening remarks session, and then after that we shall have a small survey to check our understanding on the topic of the day, and then we'll move into the panel session where we'll hear from our colleagues from various organizations which are doing great work with the technology and that are contributing to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And then after that, we are going to have a post-dialogue survey also to check our understanding at the end of the session. And then we will close promptly by the time we finish that discussion. So at this point, I'd like to call upon one of my colleagues, Johnson Ongani. Johnson, if you can hear me, you can take some 2 minutes to share with us what Champions for SDGs Youth Organization does. And then after that, we'll move to the National Youth Council. Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Arnold. Kindly confirm if I'm audible on your end. Sorry, I'm not able to have my video on at this moment.
You are audible.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Johnson Ongani, as Arnold has mentioned. I am a member of Champions for SDGs, that is the Champions for Sustainable Development Goals Youth Organization. And today I am honored to introduce to you what Champions for SDGs is and what it does. Champions for Sustainable Development Goals is a dynamic youth-led initiative committed to driving sustainable development in our communities and beyond. Our mission is to empower young people to become active contributors to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we believe that youth are not just the leaders for tomorrow, or rather of tomorrow, but are the change makers of today. Our organization is dedicated to equipping young people with the knowledge, skills, and platforms they need to take meaningful action on the most pressing global challenges. Our initiatives revolves around 3 key activities. 1, capacity building. 2, advocacy and awareness. 3, community engagement. On capacity building, we provide training, workshops, and educational resources to help young people understand the Sustainable Development Goals and develop the skills they need to lead impactful projects in their communities. On advocacy and awareness, we amplify youth voices by organizing campaigns, events, and dialogues such as what you're having today that brings attention to critical issues such as climate change, gender equality, and poverty eradication. Our goal is to influence policy and inspire collective action at local, national, and global levels. On community engagement, we support and collaborate with youth-led projects that address specific sustainable development goals, whether it's on clean energy initiatives, sustainable agriculture, or educational programs. We foster a spirit of collaboration and innovation among young people. Our impact. Since our inception, Champions for Sustainable Development Goals youth organization has engaged thousands of young people across various regions in Kenya. Our members have launched successful projects, influenced policies, discussions, and created sustainable solutions that are making a real difference in their communities. We are proud to see our youth leaders turning their passion into action and their ideas into reality. Our call to action. As we move forward, we are eager to expand our reach and deepen our impact. We invite you to join us, whether as a member, a partner, or a supporter. Together, we can harness the power of youth to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and build a better, more equitable world for all of us. Thank you for your time and attention. Let's champion the Sustainable Development Goals together and create a future where no one is left behind. Thank you, Arnold. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnson, for that highlight of our initiative, Champions for SDGs. So I'd like to mention that this particular webinar has been organized in celebration of the International Youth Month. As you might be aware, this year's focus has been on digital solutions and how young people are using technology to contribute to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And we have organized this in collaboration with the National Youth Council and brought on board colleague organizations such as the Center for Multiparty Democracy, the Civic Voices Youth Organization, the African Center for Climate Research and Innovations, and the Kenya Platform for Climate Governance. And as we continue, we'll get to hear from our distinguished colleagues representing these various organizations and the work that they are doing on the SDGs using technology and digitization. So at this point, I'd like to inquire from Mr. Yeswa whether we have the CEO of NYC already here to do the opening remarks. Yeswa?
Good morning. I'll be able to speak on her behalf because she's not feeling well, as I had indicated earlier. Thank you.
All right, then, Yeswa, you can take it away. You can give your opening remarks on behalf of the CEO and also as a key partner in organizing this important webinar today. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arnold. My name is Yeswa Johnston, Senior ICT Compliance and Enforcement Officer from the National Youth Council. The CEO was supposed to be here, but unfortunately, she will not be able to join us because she's not feeling well. So I'll go straight to proceed and give her opening remarks. And these are remarks during the Ma Youth Na SDGs International Youth Month 2024 webinar organized by Champions for SDGs Youth and the National Youth Council on the 23rd of August 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed partners, and most importantly, the vibrant youth of Kenya, good morning. It is with great enthusiasm that we gather today virtually for the Ma Youth Na SDGs International Youth Month 2024 webinar. This online event is a powerful demonstration of the collective energy and innovative spirit of our young people, who are the driving force behind the transformation we seek in our communities and nation at large. Earlier this month, we celebrated International Youth Day in Mombasa, where the theme "From Cliques to Progress, Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development" was a resounding success. This theme perfectly captures the essence of our mission, underscoring the vital connection between digitalization and the acceleration of the Sustainable Development Goals. In this digital age, your contributions are not just valuable, they are essential. As the National Youth Council, a youth-serving organization dedicated to amplifying the voice of our young people, we are committed to ensuring that every young Kenyan is heard and has the tools to make a meaningful impact. Today, we aim to highlight the incredible ways in which you, the youth, are leveraging digital tools and technology to make significant strides in SDG implementation. This webinar is more than just a platform. It is a catalyst for the free exchange of ideas and knowledge, empowering each of you to play an even more active role in the transformative journey. In line with this, we are excited to share opportunities through our latest program, the WAZO program, which is a platform designed to help young innovators develop and refine their ideas in key areas such as health, agriculture, climate, the creative industry, and governance. Through WAZO, we aim to enhance the power of digitalization, providing you with the resources and support needed to turn your ideas into impactful solutions. By the end of this session, we expect not just an increased awareness of the SDGs, but also a stronger, more organized network of young innovators ready to tackle these challenges head-on. We are grateful to our partners, the Center for Multiparty Democracy, Civic Voices, and the African Center for Climate Research and Innovations for their unwavering commitment to empowering youth. Together, we are paving the way for a future where digitalization drives sustainable progress, and the youth are at the forefront of this change. Even though we are meeting virtually, the connections we make here today are just as impactful. I encourage you all to actively participate, exchange ideas, and take advantage of the opportunities presented here. The future is in your hands, and through digitalization, you have the power to shape it. Thank you. Over to you back, Arnold.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yeshua, for those remarks that you delivered on behalf of the CEO of the National Youth Council. And we are delighted to have you on board in this important conversation and look forward to conducting even more joint activities to reach out to young people across the country. So at this point, colleagues, allow me to share with us a poll. And this is going to just help us. This will help us understand how our knowledge or awareness level is, even as we begin this webinar. So kindly look onto your screens, and you'll see a question that reads, how would you rate your understanding of how technology can be used to contribute to the implementation of the SDGs? And you can say, I do not understand at all. You can say, I understand to a certain extent, or you can say, I understand very well. So let's take a moment to respond to that. Could one of the colleagues who are presenters let me know if that poll has been displayed on the screens, or if you've been able to respond to it kindly? Yes, Lillian?
Hi, Harold.
Yes.
So the poll is well displayed on the chat. And,
okay.
Says
okay.
this, when you click the submit vote, it says disabled. Contact your IT admin for more information.
Okay. So we will see into that. Thank you for that feedback. All right. Thank you for that feedback. So I see that the participants who are listening in have been able to respond to that question. some of them, and they indicate that they understand how technology can be used to implement the SDGs. But even as we continue discussing today, we will delve further and see which other ways we can continue to use technology to contribute to the various targets of the SDGs. We will conduct another one at the end to see how we are doing. At this point, allow me to welcome Sofina. Sofina Merino will be our moderator for the day, and Sofina will invite our guest speakers who are going to delve further into the topic of the day. She's a project management consultant and trainer, and has been moderating some of our activities in the past, and we are glad to have you on board, Sofina, for this conversation today. So you can take it away, Sofina.
All right. Thank you so much, Arnold. Please confirm you can hear me.
You are audible.
All right, thank you. So also, Arnold, before you go, please confirm to me the guests that we have here with us today.
All right, so we have Kate Andere, we have Yeshua Williams, we have Peter Mogesi, we have Lillian Zioki, Michael Kishoyan, and Omadon Collins.
All right. Thank you
Tracy
so much.
has never joined us.
All right.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you so much to all of you who have made the time to be here this morning. I think we want to honor you for taking the time to be with us. And I think with no further ado, Arnold, allow me to just offer a brief background. You know, we're talking about the role of technology, technology and in youth achieving the SDGs. So it's very, very interesting. I think we cannot downplay the role that technology has had when it comes to education, when it comes to healthcare, even our financial systems, for example. And, just all the other aspects of how technology gets integrated into our daily life. But also there's the other side, which is, I'd say, very unlikely, but it's happening. And, a very funny example that just happened earlier this week. I think we also how people or someone used AI, and then they brought Trump and Kamala together. And, there's just that video where they are walking on the beach and all that. So I think, that just goes to show how there's so much diversity on how we can use technology to make our lives better. And so I'd like to invite our panelists for today. And to our panelists, I want you to share, in your experience, in your day-to-day life, of how, one, the work you do and how you're able to integrate and engage with technology, but most importantly, because of the spaces you're in, what are some of the opportunities that are available? And I'm very keen, again, just to refer all of us to the chat where there's that question. Oh, sorry. So I see the poll is closed already, but it will be very interesting. Maybe Arnold, you can open it up again so that those who haven't responded really tell us, because I'd want to know at the end of it, have we achieved our goal for the session today? And so with no further ado, I want to welcome our panelists for today. And I'm going to call out your name, please. If you're able to have your video on, we will really appreciate the interaction. And so I want to start maybe once again with Yeshua William Johnson. Just share with us, introduce yourself, what's your name, what you do, and I want to add a twist, what you're passionate about, and tell us more about your organization. So Yeshua William Johnson, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. As you've been told, my name is Yeshua Johnston. I'm in charge of ICT compliance and enforcement at the National Youth Council. Basically, National Youth Council is your institution as young people, and it's meant to amplify the youth voices. It is the bridge between young people and the other stakeholders. Our mandate, also major mandate, is to regulate and coordinate the youth space. And here at National Youth Council, my major role in ICT and compliance is to push the agenda for digitization and digitalization. Remember the current government under the Better Plan, they are very deliberate in terms of ICT or just digitizing government processes. And when you look at the National Youth Council mandate, we are supposed to advocate. Advocacy is one of our major mandate. And from where I sit, or the department that I'm in charge of, when you look at the CEO's remarks, she's been able to mention one of our major flagship project, which is WAZO program. And WAZO program just kickstarted during the National Youth Week and International Youth Day. So the WAZO program is meant to treat some of the issues that young people have been raising, because we've been able to traverse the country. We've been able to engage young people in innovation setups in schools and all that. So we have 3 key issues that we are dealing with through this program. And that directly also, when you look at the outputs of the program, they are meant to achieve these SDGs. And when you look at also the SDGs, we have the clear targets under each SDG. And technology or digitization is something that is cutting across. So we are looking at commercialization in the innovation or digitization space. We are looking at safeguarding, that is, patenting, trademarks, all the young people who are involved in innovations. And then we are looking at digitization. So commercialization, safeguarding, and digitalization. And that we have been looking at the individual young people and also the startups, because you understand that in the country, the lifespan of a startup is around 3 years. It means after 3 years, so many startups are failing because of these 3 things that we've been able to identify. And that is why WAZO program is here. One, to advocate for commercialization of youth startups and innovations, safeguarding, and that is, patenting, trademarking, and all that. And then 2, digitalization of youth startups, because for you to survive in this space and for you to achieve even the SDGs which directly affect them, we have to do these 3 things. So basically, that is what I'm doing at National Youth Council, and National Youth Council as a whole, through its advocacy agenda, is trying to push in the digital space. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Yeswa. Very insightful, just being able to share those opportunities right there. And very shortly, we'll be going deeper into that. So next, I'd like to invite Don Collins, the Executive Director of Civic Voices. Let us know what you do and how you engage with the youth and how you fulfill the SDGs in your organization.
Thank you, Sofina. I don't know if my video is visible. The network is a little bit down, but I'll try have it on. So my name is Collins, Don Collins from Civic Voices. So Civic Voices, we're basically working towards enhancement of efficiency in public participation through tech. We support county governments to run public participation through technology. If you've ever heard about Civic Voices, the Civic Voices digital platform, we are the people behind it. We've seen a challenge in the past where public participation has not been done in the spirit of the Constitution, like is envisioned rather than the Constitution. There are challenges to public participation, and that these challenges are not unique. Though there's some that are unique to some counties, but the same challenges we face as a country are the same challenges that are faced in the country, rather, the same challenges that are faced in the counties. The biggest of that is access to information. That's the cornerstone of everything. If you cannot access information with regards to what is being discussed, what's happening, what is going right and what's going wrong, there's no way we'll be able to meaningfully engage in public participation. The finance bill, let me use this as an example. People really engaged because people got, access to that information, and they were able to use that information to stop what they think will not be right if implemented. So now, public participation in the counties. How many of us have ever really taken part in public participation in our counties? I'll put that to all of us. And why have you ever not been part of that? So the county level, the participation is solo to the extent that the kind of discussions that are held do not reflect, the true need of the people. And that's how now tech comes in. If we're able to get information via WhatsApp, via Facebook, via all these things, how about to digitize public participation and have that, support the physical public participation that is done? What if everybody was to get that information about the particular public participation? Like, for instance, last week, Nairobi City County did a public participation on annual development plans. How many people attended that? How many people knew that such a thing was there? So what if each citizen of Nairobi County got that information at the click or as a notification in their phones? How many will miss that? And imagine how lovely, how enriching, and how inclusive such discussions will be. So then tech becomes, at this age, an enabler in many ways. So at Civic Voices, that's what we do. We support basically the county governments to run public participation through tech, to make it more efficient, to make it more inclusive, and to have the real views of the people represented, in such public discussions. So looking at that, public participation is a cut across thing. When we talk about environment, we talk about, we like to place it mostly at SDG 16, but matters peace alone is not all. Because when it comes to environment, when it comes to health, when it comes to all those things require public participation according to Kenyan law. So public participation then, for us, is a cut across issue with regards to the 16 SDGs and the 17th one when it comes to partnership and all that. And that is how at Civic Voices we're playing our part in making in making sure that we hit the targets with the SDGs that we have. And if you're not on the Civic Voices platform, this is the time. If you go to civicvoices.app, you can access all the information, because not just public participation that happens there. There's civic education that goes on there. There's public information that go in there. There are public events and public things that, public good, let me put them, things that are going on that we need to be aware of and take advantage of. So we have that, and we have the mobile apps as well, both iOS and Android. So you go to Google Play Store, search for Civic Voices, download it, so that you don't miss any information, because having that information is the beginning of engagement. If you're not informed, there's nothing else you can do. Thank you, Merinho. I think that suffices. But if anything I've left, maybe we'll proceed on the conversations and I'll touch on those.
Yes,
Thanks.
Indeed, Don. I really like how you've gotten us started, because, in the next set of questions, we'll really be breaking down to understand how Civic Voices, gets to what you called that Mwananchi. We are very keen to hear that. And right about now, I think I want to move on to Lillian Nzioki. So Lillian, very shortly, let us know who you are, what you do.
Thank you, Sofina, for that. So my name is Lillian Nzioki. Let me try to see whether my camera can come on. Yes. So yeah, so my name is Lillian Nzioki. I'm a youth advisor in the Youth Sounding Board under the Royal Danish Embassy, Kenya. One fun fact about me is that I was Sofina's classmate back in KU. And I'm happy to be in this platform today and connect with you. And I'll just dive straight into what we do as members of the Youth Sounding Board under the Royal Danish Embassy, Kenya. First, our role is more of a advisory role to advise the embassy in matters inclusion of youth voices, needs, concerns into their strategic framework implementation, and seeing that we ensure that when the embassy is implementing their projects, their prospects, the voices of Kenyans youth are not left behind, but they are part and the parcel of that strategy. In this role, I serve together with Hanod, and we are actually 6 months old, and it has been such an interesting journey whereby we have been working with other fellow youth and sitting in places where youth have not been sitting before, and trying to influence the policy decision-making levels, ensuring that our voices, our representation is heard and taken into decision-making spaces. Diving down into today's discussion, I'll start by acknowledging that digitalization and technology shapes everything we do today in our day-to-day lives. It informs the way we communicate, the way we interact with each other, the way we shape ideas, the way we define project prospects, and even the way we try and shape discussions around how do we advance our processes to achieve the sustainable development goals. Together with my YSB team, which is the Youth Sounding Board team, we actually very fond and appreciate that digital platforms such as social media channels help fellow young people spotlight the issues that affect them, and actually help also capture their voices and ensure that they are included in the decision-making spaces to lead to achievement of sustainable development goal. Personally, my favorite social media channel and digital platform to use has been LinkedIn, whereby I usually go beyond to ensure that when I'm doing my social media posts, I capture the concerns of my fellow youth. I curate conversations around what's happening in our country. I also curate information which I think can be digestible by my fellow Kenyan youth, and to be able to understand what does this sustainable development agenda mean, what does this sustainable discussion tables mean, and what does the role of Kenyan youth entail. In this is to ensure that no one is left behind and we have everyone onboarded in this discussion. Currently in our nation, I appreciate that it's a crucial time we're having this discussion and this webinar, and especially the International Youth Month. We have seen cumulative activities where increased digital activism has led to heightened civic engagement spaces for young people, which led to questioning of the bad governance in our nation, and which also accumulated into street protests against bad governance. So in this, we can agree that we can't underscore the importance and the significance of the era we live in and the digitalization and technology in ensuring that no one is left behind, and we champion to ensure that there is inclusivity of youth voices in achievement and advancement of processes towards the achievement of sustainable development goals in Kenya. As I wrap up, some of the opportunities which I would like to mention, especially in relation to the Youth Sounding Board, there is opportunity for digital literacy for my fellow youth members. And what I do is do a call to action to my fellow youth. As you participate in this forum, as you participate in this discussion, yes, you have your phone, yes, you have your tablet. The information is right at your doorstep. So how best do you engage with different digital platforms? Are you looking forward to learn more about what's happening in the digital digital SDG agendas, and are you willing to participate in the table? As the saying goes, the youth are the current leaders of today's world, not the leaders of tomorrow. So do we have the skills ready to take up that role when information is brought right at our doorsteps? There is also an aspect of digital storytelling hubs. Yes, most youths are doing a lot of work, especially around their sustainability and their projects, even at the grassroots levels. Yes, as you do that project to your village, who knows what you're doing there? Can we have a thing where we normalize telling the stories, small stories of success and change we are doing with our communities? It's the small steps which lead to the big contribution of us seeing the integral impact and outcome of us as a nation moving towards the sustainable discussion and the sustainable agendas. So I would also like to also mention at a personal level, it's always good to challenge yourself and ask yourself, so this discussion is here, as a fellow youth, what am I bringing to the table? It can be your skills, it can be your creativity, it can be your innovation, because we all have an integral part to play, especially around contribution to innovation, creativity, and collaborating with fellow youth to ensure that we work towards ensuring that there is inclusive community engagement to build inclusive, resilient communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lillian. I really like, there's a question you posed there and you asked each of us, what is the role that we're playing as the Kenyan youth? Thank you so much for that. Right about now, I'd like to invite Keith and Dere.
Right. Good morning, colleagues. I'm happy to connect on this call now, connecting from Arusha, Tanzania. I hope that you can hear me, and apologies for the background noise that you might be hearing. As you've heard, my name is Keith Ndere, the Executive Director of the African Center for Climate Research and Innovation, and so we are happy and pleased to be here. So, some of you might know me from my days as a youth leader serving at a continental level, having led African Youth Commission, which provided an opportunity for young people to engage decision-making processes, advocacy processes, capacity building and knowledge transfer. But having participated in that space for over 7 years, I've now transitioned to a specific function within the SDGs, which is climate action. Many of us will agree that climate action, goal 13, is at the center of all the 17 global goals that we do have, and it's a cross-cutting goal. You can link it all the way from zero hunger to education, to decent jobs, all the way to peace and security. And so what SCCRI does is to provide an opportunity for young people, children, to build solutions around climate action. So this speaks to different aspects of climate action, be it climate adaptation, be it climate mitigation, be it just transition, be it waste management, water mapping, and all of these angles. And what we're really doing is tapping onto the use of emerging technologies such as AI for us to be able to, one, package climate action, climate frameworks, Paris Agreement, all these conventions that we do have for young people to easily understand. What we are currently working on is making sure that we're building a tool for AI that can, actually break down this to very simple terms and also deliver it in local content, so that my grandmother may be able to follow COP processes, in Hallelujah language, for example. We're also building a solution, calling it Climate AI, which is a tool that we want to utilize to map out tree planting. We've seen, for example, different countries across the continent, Kenya being one of them, taking up tree planting initiative. And so an ambitious, project such as 15 billion trees in the next couple of years from Kenya. How do we map out those trees that are planted? So we're building up a solution using AI to be able to predict and say, look, if we put 7,000 trees in Narok, then this is the impact, as opposed to just us planting new trees anywhere. And then secondly, how do we map out these trees and see their growth patterns, so that we are able to replace the trees that are falling off. We are able to predict, because of the floodings that is going to happen, for example, in Kiambu, we are going to lose 100,000 trees, and so we need to replace 100,000 trees. Make sure we have success rates for the trees to the maturity rate. We are also working around innovation hackathons to provide opportunity, like I said, climate adaptation, which when you look deeply into climate adaptation, adaptation is basically building resilience, building infrastructure that can support impact of climate action. So that is our center of our work, beyond advocacy, beyond emerging technologies that we are tapping in. We are also doing a lot on climate education. We are working with a number of schools to make sure that within the schools we have a climate change corner where we're bringing out competitions. We are working out on a concept to have a children climate summer school. We are going to develop tools, comic stories. We are currently working on climate games to be able to break down the issues of climate to young kids, to children at a tender age. I think one of the common conversations we've also had around is how do we embed climate education into formal curriculum, and this is across the continent. And so we're using the opportunities of emerging technology to create this and to creatively embed this. But we are not just the people who are creating these solutions. We are a platform and working with the innovators, the techies, the musicians, basically using arts. In fact, we have something called CAMS for climate action, CAMS. And CAMS here stands, for culture, for arts, for media and sports. So we're really trying to work around comes for climate sustainability. And one of the projects that we're currently working on, and I'm happy to share an opportunity for all of us to come in, including different partners that we have here, is a Pan-African golf championship for climate. And we picked golf because it's not just an elite game, so to speak, but it's a game that relies holistically on nature. So imagine if all the golf courses dry, how then are we able to utilize the course for this game? It is very easy for us to put an artificial grass for a football game, but are we able to do an artificial course for golf, for example? So that is one aspect of some of the things that we're doing. But on the flip side, we're also looking at responsible use of technology. I'm happy to having had quite a number of our friends, colleagues, and fellow speakers here speaking about how they're using technology, role of technology in various things, but how do we also ensure that we have sustainable, responsible use of technology? So we're calling that green tech. Making sure that if you're putting up, data centers, that the green gas emissions that we're getting from data centers and all of these technological advancements that we're seeing, it's also environmental friendly, and we're able to build up a sustainable tech solution as we advance into the digital revolution age. I'll stop here, and I'm happy to come back at the second round of questions so that we can engage more. Thank you so much, moderator.
All right. So, Keith, before you go, I think you've shared some very good insights. And maybe there's a young person seated there, you've been able to talk about the CAMS for climate action. You've been able to talk about how you're planning the Pan-African Golf Championship for climate. So I think it's very important, just like Don Collins did. Maybe you can share with us where can we follow you? How can we engage, interact with you so that everyone is aware of these events? But most importantly, there's something very important. And, I think we can all agree right now, environmental conservation, the conversation around climate change is very hot, it's very big, and it's very necessary. I think we've all been seeing, the extreme weather conditions and how that has been able to affect our world over, here in Africa, when we're having drought and famine, on the other side of Europe, they're having forest fires and intense heat. So it's really, when you say it's a hot topic, it really is literally a hot topic. So Kate, just allow us to know how is it that we can be able to engage with African Center for Climate Research and Innovations.
Absolutely. It's indeed important to let colleagues know how we can connect. Currently, we are building a very vibrant web portal, which we hope that will be done in the next couple of days, if not a week or two. It's sccri.africa, so keep an eye on it. On the socials, we are big around Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and our handle is @AfricanCCRI. African CCRI. But I'm also happy to share my own at Andere KE on Twitter or on X if you bougie enough to call it so. On LinkedIn is Keith Andere. I'm happy to again connect, to interact and to connect with all of you.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Keith. I appreciate it. So I'd like us to move to our next speaker, and I'd like to invite Michael Kishoyan.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Sofina. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm doing this meeting outside, and let me tell you, it's an amazing experience. I'm doing this meeting from under tree, and the experience is so nice, and it is giving me the essence of climate action. I now feel like we need to take care of our environment. Let me start by saying that my name is Michael Kishoyan. I'm the network coordinator for Sustainable Development Network Solutions Network Youth in Kenya. And before I continue, in 2022, I had a chance to meet the resident coordinator for United Nations in Ghana, Mr. Charles Abani. And what he told me rings fresh in my mind. He said that the young people are the leaders of tomorrow, and tomorrow is now. So the change we want to see, let us create it now. So back to SDSN, Sustainable Development Solutions Network, is a global initiative by the UN, and as the largest, as the world's largest knowledge network for the Sustainable Development Goals. The UN SDSN works under the auspices of the UN Secretary General to mobilize the world's universities, think tanks, and also national laboratories to identify global and local solutions for action on the world's most critical sustainable development challenges. We operate under the intersection between science, policy, and development practices to promote SDGs, and also the Paris Agreement on climate change, or maybe climate action through education, and research, policy analysis, and global cooperation. And also the networks of SDSN. SDSN mobilizes the world's leading knowledge institution, and also leverages their strengths to help promote and accelerate practical solutions to SDGs challenges. It has spans of spanning in 6 continents. The SDSN comprises of over 1,900 members institutions, primary universities, coordinated by 57 United Nations regional networks. Each network focuses on distinct projects and priorities in line with the local context of and challenges. So, working with the UN, SDSN saw it good to have the docket for the youth, and that is why we have SDSN Youth. So in SDSN Youth, we work directly under the SDSN, and also we have around 2,102 community leaders educated. We also have 1,023 sustainable solutions solutions that have been ideated and also incubated. We have 127 countries involved with SDSN Youth, and then we have about 195 volunteers. So at SDSN Youth, we empower the young people to lead the ways in building a better lasting world through their innovative solutions and also engagement. SDSN, as I've mentioned, is the world's largest information organization, or maybe institution that hosts, or maybe that is on SDGs. So we are looking up to scaling impact through education. how can the young people contribute to sustainable development? Now that is where we come in to educate, to empower, and also to inspire young people to contribute to the attainment or maybe the realization of SDGs visions and targets. We also have innovation. We are guided through the scaling and sustainable solutions. So we host hackathons and also have young people ideate and also track the impact and also come up with solutions that are geared towards dealing with problems of now and the future. And then we also have a sense of community whereby we have a global community of collaborative institutions and individuals. SDSL works with, as I've mentioned, we work with universities, youth-led organizations, individuals, and also research centers and corporate institutions. So all of us form a community that is geared towards achieving sustainable development by 2030. Also, we provide resources whereby youth can also access practical resources that allow them make impact at their particular capacities. And so how we are trying to leverage on social media to maybe digitalization of sustainable development. We are doing this by strengthening the governance and transparency, and also facilitating social inclusion and reducing inequalities. That is on SDG 10, whereby we are in the spirit of leaving no one behind. So we have developed a mechanism of not leaving anyone behind. We have the inclusion of young people with disabilities. We have also young people from marginalized communities, and also young people who have limited access to opportunities. And then we are also leveraging on digitalization to foster global partnerships, whereby the framework, maybe just to mention, about 1 month old at the SDSN. I was just appointed recently, and one of my major vision and objective is to foster partnerships with the youth-led organizations, and this is why we're having these conversations to see how best we can engage and bring young people on board in terms of digitalization and also realization of a digital and creative economy in terms of youth employment and creation of opportunities. Thank you so much, and back to you, Ms. Mofina.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michael. And I think we've had your call that you're looking to engage with young people. So yes, indeed, that is very good. And we'll be talking a little bit about that much later on. And so I want now to move to Peter Mogesi. Please let us know who you are and what your organization does. And I'm very excited because once again, we are back to the environment and climate governance space. So Peter, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sophia. I don't know whether you can hear me clearly.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so much. As Sophia has said, my name is Peter Mogesi. I'm a project manager at SAG Place. SAG stands for Special Group Interest Place. It is a social organization based in Bori. It's a youth-led organization. And we are also member of the Kenya Platform for Climate Governance. Let me mention something small to do with SAG. SAG is a place-focused non-profit civil society organization, which is committed to empower youth, women, and people with disabilities. And we also work to ensure that people fulfill their potential to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. Then back to, as a member of Kenya Platform for Climate Governance, KPCG is a collective initiative that brings together civil society organizations, grassroots organizations, and non-state actors to address the issues with climate. And we also focus on promoting initiatives and participatory climate governance by ensuring that marginalized and vulnerable communities are included in climate-related decision-making. Our activities mainly focus on 3 areas: that's advocacy and policy engagement, and capacity building, and promoting renewable energy and just transition. In the area of advocacy and policy engagement, KPCG work on influencing climate policies and legislation in Kenya. For example, in 2023, we are involved in coming up with decision around climate change amendment bill 2023, sorry. Around the area of capacity building and for community engagement, we facilitate capacity building initiative to empower communities and civil society organizations participate effectively in climate governance. We achieve this through events such as workshops to discuss the development strategies for climate action. And around the area of promoting renewable energy and transition, we work closely with organizations such as PACJA to promote people-centered energy transition. I think that's what I would say for now. We'll continue to engage down the line. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter, for just being able to share about ACG and what the Kenya Platform for Climate Governance does at large. And so thank you all for really sharing what you do. And I'm very pleased that we have you as panelists because you can see there are several opportunities for engagement. So number one, you all are young people and really just trying in your own spaces to see how we can be able to create a change. So I want to come back up, to Dawn Collins. Dawn, you talked about Civic Voices, and I think any conscious Kenyan right now, we are on the radar just to be able to see how can we contribute to accountability? How can we make sure things are going right? I mean, anyone in that space, and Dawn, I know you're very, very active in that space, can be able to tell that it's really boiling up. But what I could also say is, I think the boiling up is more in the town setting, or so to say, in the urban setting. But when you go to the village, some of these discussions that we are having, it seems far off for them. And so you're talking about being able to use, for example, the tech space, you being able to, we've seen a lot of dissemination right now, for example, on WhatsApp. It's very, I never thought I'd live to see a time where TikTok was just not about young people dancing around, but actually TikTok is being used to give civic information. So you see, all this is going around, all this is happening. And so Dawn, I want to start with you and maybe just ask you, how would you wish to see young people really engage in that civic space as we implement, but also just engage in ensuring that we achieve the SDGs around good leadership and governance and all that?
Thank you for that, Sofina. And you brought it well, that, initially when TikTok came, people, there was this assumption that TikTok is used to shake nyash, but that is since changing. The kind of civic education that is going on in that platform is unimaginable. Yeah, many young people are now getting information through TikTok, and I saw a trend that made me feel as if I was old. That nowadays people don't Google stuff, they TikTok stuff. Then they get results in videos. Oh, okay, it's amazing.
You're telling all of us. Clearly, we just didn't even know yet.
They do.
But that's
They
why we are here
TikTok.
to share information. Yes.
Uh, and before I even get to that, there's something you mentioned about tech being taken up strongly in the urban setup vis-a-vis rural setup. It's true, but the challenge is that these conversations are more worthwhile or are being engaged in more in the rural setup than in the urban setup. Let me explain. In Nairobi, for instance, let me just sorry for that. In the urban setup, for instance, we have the city occupied mostly by the middle class, let me say, where education, watu waenda kwa public, people go to private facilities because they want better education for their kids. Hospitals, do I go to Mama Lucy? They have options as such. In the rural setups, we don't have that. Everybody attends public education. Everybody, goes for services in public hospitals. So when a public hospital does not work in the county or in the countryside, it's a community issue. So they engage more because these are public goods and they are dependent on them more than we in the urban setups. It's a crazy observation that was made, but that's the reality on the ground. But you've seen what tech can do in this day and age, and the biggest challenge that is also a big opportunity, Mourinho, when you talk about people sharing that information on social media and all that, the challenge you see is, and which is the challenge today, is too much information in a very widespread of platforms. So I, as a young person, I don't know exactly where to look for this information and which information is true and which one is not true. So in as much as there's the advantage of tech, then there's the disadvantage that comes with this with the information that is not true and information that is so scattered. But how do we compress this information and have them in places that are, let me say, specialized for that particular thing, right? So in as much as we have information flowing on other platforms, but can we have also dedicated platforms for these things? For instance, let me just give an example of public participation in Nairobi, right? There's people share information on all these platforms, but can we have a space where when now we want to submit our views specifically on public participation, that you can go to this particular platform that is now official and it has the capabilities of recording all this and providing a report the way Civic Voices does, right? And in extension to that conversation, as I think that the 2022 report of the SDGs by the UN on the progress that has been made is the one that really captured so well on the need for tech, in enhancement and achievement of SDGs. And this was right after the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was a wake-up call, and it shook people to the reality that, look, we have to now employ technology in these things, right? And in my analysis, there are three approaches that we could use technology generally to create positive feedback, because there is also negative feedback, but our focus now is positive feedback here. That how can we use it to advance the achievement of SDGs. And I'd like to mention three main things, or three ways in which you can create this positive feedback through tech. Number one is replacement. Replacement, basically, the systems that are not working for us right now. Can you replace them rather, using tech? I'll give an example of digital signatures. When those came, imagine how many trees we have saved today when we didn't have to print paper, sign, send. Instead, we can just sign on the screens and it's gone. Completely replacing the need, for that. The second thing will be optimization. These are basically technologies that make processes more efficient, like now the Civic Voices platform, public participation more efficient. I'll talk about Nairobi County. I'll use more example of Nairobi because I've dealt with them first and for a long time. There are sensors right now, 13 sensors across Nairobi County that measure the air quality. And they advise us as citizens of Nairobi where air is more polluted, where we should avoid, and it basically informs us. Having that information, what can you do to make air quality in that area better? For instance, there's some cottage industries that have been built, inside residential areas that are spiking, the levels of toxic emissions in the air, and those sensors are able to monitor that. And we having the information that shows this area is actually red, is critical. What are the measures that we can take to take that level down to, a state where that place can be habitable? But how many people know about the sensors and the platform that you can access, information on these sensors and then inform the action that you can take afterwards? So that is another conversation about access to these things, or to these platforms, or to these technologies that we'll discuss at a later stage. But we're looking at the advantage that comes, or one of the ways of which you can take advantage of tech for making advancement of SDGs first. So I've talked about replacement, I've talked about optimization, I'll talk lastly about redesign. So basically, this is completely reinventing services or products from how they used to work before to a new way of doing things. I'll take an example of the e-buses, for instance. We are not getting public transport vehicles out of the roads, but we are reinventing the way public transport works. And in this sense, we are cutting carbon emission. We are cutting the effects that comes with the inhalation of this and the effect of this to the environment. You see, so we're basically redesigning how our public transport works, but maintaining, the principle of its working. So when you apply those three things, I know they're amazing things that we as young people can, one, as innovators, take advantage of, and two, as change makers, consume or take advantage of in building the change, that we need to create, and enhancing, attainments of these SDGs in the particular areas, of our working. Could it be SDG 1 or 2 or whatever? How do we take advantage of these three means to achieve that, Sofina?
All right. Wow. Thank you. Wow, Don, this conversation just gets deeper and deeper as we proceed. Thank you so much for just, being able to share that. And I want to acknowledge Victor Kisegu. I think I saw your hand up. So I want to request right after this session, we have a session where we'll have a question and answer, and also any professional who's in here and would like to contribute will also get an opportunity then. So please don't worry, keep your questions. We'll be able to receive them. And Yasua Johnson, I want to come to you. I mean, you're working on a national platform. So, when you talk about your experiences, I'm imagining it's from county 1 to county 41. And so just share with us, in your space as the National Youth Council, how would you like to see young people more engaged in your context in implementation and review and using technology when it comes to achieving the SDGs? And what recommendations would you have for young people across the country? Maybe there's someone here tuned in, for example, from Takana, and they're wondering, what's in it for me at the National Youth Council? How, where do we start? How do we get started? Yeah, just give that to us.
Thank you, Safina. I know there's been a rumor out there that, in government, there are those old faces and all that. Just to the young people is to tell them that we are getting there and we need to continue pushing. Remember, National Youth Council is there to ensure that young people are on the table, they are making decisions. And the reason why also we are having this discussion is to ensure that we are having a paradigm shift in how things have been done before and how we are doing them now. You mentioned I've had the privilege to go across all counties in the country and just engaging with young people. And I'll still go back to the program that I've been able to mention. And one of the functions of National Youth Council. One of the functions of National Youth Council is to protect young people from abuse and manipulation. This means young people, if they are innovating, if they are in the spaces they are in, whether in the creative space, whether it's in the agriculture we are talking about, whether it's in the governance that we are talking about, that space, that environment is conducive for them to produce or for them to participate. So through the WAZO program, we realized one thing. An example, I know my brother has mentioned about the creative industry, where young people are in the TikTok, young people are in all the social media platforms, and young people are innovating. I don't want to mention some of the examples that young people have been able to push, and they have found out that a young person innovated a word, a certain word. An example is JB. This young person innovates a word called JB. The word, is all over on the streets and people are using it and all that. That is an innovation in the creative space. But how does this young person, benefit out of this creativity they have come up with? You find someone else somewhere who has information about patenting or trademarking or copyrighting that one, goes ahead to copyright it before this young person who was able to come up with this word. And now all the financial benefit around these wordings and all that goes to them and not the originator of the word. And that is where WAZO is coming in. We started during the National Youth Week to do policy briefs, just to come up with a document that will inform some of the policies that we need to safeguard and protect young people who are in the innovation or who are trying to achieve these SDGs, but they are being hindered by some of the things. When you are a youth and you don't have, or your idea or your innovation or your startup is not kind of protected, one of the incentives for investors is that protection. And that is what young people are lacking. And that is what we have learned. And that is why we are pushing for advocacy around that space. One of the things that we were also being asked about, the themes that we came up with to develop the policy briefs, was governance. How do you inject innovation or bring, the digitization within the governance structures? The people are in the governance space. How do we improve our governance ecosystem in the country using this innovation? Still is attached to the SDGs. So as an institution to protect young people from abuse and manipulation, through this program called WAZO, we are trying to ensure that government entities that are responsible for protecting young people in that space are able to be closer to young people. Young people are able to know the processes that are required for you to protect your idea, your innovation. You are able to know the charges that are involved. And if those charges, I know there's a report that also said about the charges being exorbitant. How do we have a conversation to ensure that those charges are reduced to allow young people be able to protect their ideas in the innovation space, both in all sectors, whether it's governance, whether it is health, whether it is agriculture, whether it is the creative industry, for them to protect their ideas. And the end result for that is investor confidence, is the growth of startups, and it is an employment of other young people, because once you get investment into your ideas, you are able to get the funding that you require. So those are the things that we are looking at through this program. My recommendation is, because I know in the near future, we are going to start our regional engagements just to ensure that these policy briefs, which had some specific recommendations and we will be able to share, we are able to actualize them. We will set the regional engagements to listen to the young people, to look at samples of youth innovators across the country. And the next stage thereafter, because during those engagements, we will be able to, through some sort of competition and all that, we'll be able to get samples, or those who will have gone through the processes that we will have laid down, to go to a boot camp. This boot camp, we are still pushing for commercialization, because we talked about financial or digital literacy, financial literacy. But again, we are trying to bring together government entities, private entities that are involved with young people, to bring together these resources together and support these young people. After that bootcamp, we are looking at having a platform, a networking platform. It's called a deal room, where we are bringing government, private sector, and the young people in the innovation space together. One, to look at the issues that have been raised across the country, to look at the three things that we talked about, that is digitization, safeguarding, and commercialization. Because an example, we have the climate space, where we have so many young people innovating in the climate space. And then we have a funding that is there, from COP. I know after COP in Baku, we will have a fund. How does that fund support those young people in the climate space in somewhere called Mwihupo in Western Kenya, for a young person who is innovating in that space? So we have a structure in place as National Youth Council through the Regulation and Coordination Department, where we have sector working groups. The sector working groups were informed by the Kenya Youth Development Policy to ensure that we have all these youth serving organizations within those sectors, so that we can have a flow of information. If there's a fund that has come, how do young people down in Turkana, as you said, be able to access that fund or that information? How do we give a platform for capacity building for institutions that my colleagues who have mentioned here, to also benefit those young people who are in the rural areas, both the rural areas we know and the urban rural as well. So basically, we have my recommendation, or even the institutions that are on board here, we are having a conversation, is how do we actualize the sector working groups? One, to be able to push the capacity building that we are talking about in all those different sectors to achieve these SDGs in a more structured way. And two, through WAZO program, how do we ensure that young people who are in the innovation in the digital space, the environment is safeguarded? And two, commercialization, how are they supported in terms of financial support to ensure that their startups are going beyond the 3-6 years? Because within 3-6 years, that is a growth space. So for them to get to a level where now they're creating employment for other young people to support even our economy, we need those three things to be done. And that is why for us, we look at it, for us to achieve the SDGs and with the timelines that is remaining, those three things, if we are able to achieve them, and if we are able to bring young people in the different sectors within those structures that were informed by the Kenya Youth Development Policy, we'll be able to achieve the SDGs. Thank you. Back to you, Sofian.
I think all I can say, Yeswar, is that was insightful. And so very fast, I want to move to Lillian. And Lillian, in just 2 minutes, please share with me, what's your recommendation on how youth can continue to engage?
Thank you, Sofina. I'll start by maybe telling a small snapshot and maybe a story around what we do with the embassy. So in the last couple of weeks, we reached out to Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers as a youth sounding board under the Royal Embassy of Denmark, Kenya, looking out for 5 CBOs who are already engaged in the waste management sector with the goal of maybe training them on how to strengthen the institutional governance and also to strengthen the institutional structures with the goal of positioning them to be able to tap into the existing and future opportunities around funding around sustainable waste management. My headache was like when I reached out to the chair of the Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers, from our checklist, the first priority was being given to youth-led CBOs around the waste management sector working in Dandora. Unfortunately, we did not get any. What am I saying? Are youth positioned to tap onto these opportunities when they come around? There is a reawakening call to all young people that we are the leaders of today to achieve a better tomorrow. And in that, my recommendation are as follows. First, there is power of collaborating with fellow youth to make meaningful impacts in our communities and create sustainable solutions around the society and impact fellow young people. 2, there is need to get involved in digital initiatives and take lead and try and learn through the process, document the lessons learned, the successes, and replicate if we are successful. 3rd, there is need to seek out for opportunities as young people. Digitalization and technology places us at a upper hand to be able to know what's happening in the world, what's happening in our country, what's happening in our county. As a youth, what am I doing differently to ensure that I'm at forefront to tap onto these opportunities when they come around? 4th, there is the power of using a digital storytelling hub to showcase the work we are doing as youth and as Kenyan youth, especially at the grassroots level. The sustainability agenda should not be defined by the global powers, but we can coin it from the local dignified stories we are doing around ending poverty, solving solutions around the communities we work with, so creating solutions in our own villages. How are we doing it? Are we showcasing those stories? And finally, as a wrap up, there is need to build a personal brand. When I mention your name somewhere, do I have a brand which goes with my name? As a Kenyan youth, do I represent the face of my fellow Kenyan youth? If not, what opportunities available online can I tap onto and learn on how to enhance my capacity, how to sharpen my skills so that I become a brand? And lastly, your networks define your net worth. Thank you.
I think I couldn't agree more. Your net worth is determined by your network. And so right after Keith just shares with us his recommendations, I'll be taking in any questions or comments from all of us. So I wish to request if you can raise your hand if you have a question, or in the chat box, if possible, you can be able to write down some questions there. So Keith, very quickly, let me come to you. What's your recommendation on how young women or young people can continue to engage? Keith, if you're speaking, you're muted. Keith and Dere?
Yes, sorry, I think I missed your. Could you just repeat again?
Yes, I think Keith, just asking you on your recommendations on how young people can continue to be engaged and just the opportunities that you're seeing in the space you're in.
All right, thank you so much. I think for me there are two things. One is understanding advocacy processes, because that is where the opportunity for engagement comes in. That is where a lot of implementations of policies, opportunities for implementation of policies come about. But that comes with the second thing, content. You wouldn't go to advocacy processes without having understand the processes, what feeds into what results into what. So those two things are critical. So to narrow down what other opportunities, I think we have for example, the Kenya SDG Forum, which really talks about the implementation of SDGs at national level. I think there's an opportunity for youth engagement, shadow reporting, at that level. We also have the Africa Regional Forum for Sustainable Development, through which we usually conduct, youth trainings and workshops, especially around VNR, voluntary national reviews. So the voluntary national reviews is a mechanism where countries subject themselves for the review of the implementation of the SDGs. There's also opportunity to showcase what we are doing as far as initiatives for SDGs are concerned. That leads to the global process, which is the HLPF, the High Level Political Forum. So the HLPF is, again, the global arena for the UN to look at the implementation, the progress made around the implementation of the SDGs. It usually happens in New York in July, so we might not all be there, but we can coalesce in terms of, again, looking at the VNR processes, ensuring that we are also showcasing some of the initiatives that we are doing at Kenyan level. If we engage with the SDG Forum, for example, we ensure that we are making our membership, our organization members of the SDG Kenya, they are able to cascade upwards to this forum. Every 4 years, we have SDG Summit, for example. So the SDG Summit, again, usually happen, on the sidelines of UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, which looks at all 16 SDGs, because every year, SDGs in review a select number of SDGs. So I see that again as another opportunity. Right now, guys are talking on a Summit of the Future. I think I would really encourage all the colleagues connected here to look at the Summit of the Future, Pact of the Future, where this time around Africa is on the table being a co-chair. Namibia is the co-chair, I think, together with Germany. So for us to understand what does the Pact of the Future mean, what does the Pact of the Future have, very quickly, if you allow me, I think it highlights about 5 or 6 things. One, it talks about future generations, and this is where most of the colleagues will come in. What does the Pact of the Future talk about future generations? We also have, I think, something on global governance, for example. We have new frontiers, such as how do we manage things like oceans and the space. We have something on how to change multilateralism, making the UN a UN of the people. So again, that is another opportunity to continue to engage, and there should be something on financial flow. Most of the time we've talked about, global financial systems, where loans are given to developing countries at high rates, and so on and so forth. So I think the Summit of the Future, now again, is the next couple of weeks. These are big conversations that will be really prudent to engage in. But I'm happy to share a lot of details on HLPF process. I'm happy to share details on RFSD if you reach out to me. Then lastly, the UN has a mechanism for engaging different stakeholders through what they call major groups. And so there's a major group for children and youth, just like there's a major group for, old people, for women, for indigenous community, and so on. So I would also just encourage, members to sign up for membership at MGCY. You can check unngcy.org, United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth. I just put it on the chat. Please connect there. They provide a lot of opportunities for engagement in this process that I'm talking. LPF, COP processes, and all of.
All right. I think we lost you, Kate, a bit towards the end, but I think the information is home. Thank you so much for being able to share that. And so, Michael, very shortly, I'll be coming to you, but please, I'm asking all 40 of us, if you have a question, a recommendation of your own in your own sector, I request you, please, you can have it in the chat, or if you'd wish to speak, please just raise your hand and say one or two words. So please, the chat box, I believe, is open. Please put your chat in there. I'll be able to read on that. But also, if you'd like to speak, feel free to raise your hand. I just noticed Victor, I don't know, Victor, if he's still there. He'd raised his hand before. But let me just swiftly move to you, Michael Kishuyan. And really just, let us know what are some of the recommendations that you give to young people? And, just with the appreciation of the background that you have, being in this space where you boldly declared that your dream is to engage more youth organizations and in turn be able to reach more young people. So maybe you could talk to us, what in that space of youth, just actively contributing towards the SDGs. What's your recommendation? What do you want? What do you need us to do? What do you want us to do? What would you challenge us to be able to do to achieve that?
Okay, thank you so much, Sofina, and the speakers who have spoken before me. I think what they have talked about, especially Keith and Dere, thank you so much for highlighting the issues of the high-level political forum, the Summit of the Future, the CYMG. I think those are the avenues where young people can really leverage on in terms of their voices being heard and also their representation to be felt. But just to add on and or maybe to ride on what Mr. Keith was talking about, I think it's important for also young people to engage and also be part of data collection and monitoring. Because you've heard kids talk about the high-level political forum, the VNR, that is the Voluntary National Review. That was a chance for young people to really have their voices heard. Are we feeling the oomph of let's say sustainable development goals? Are we really on the right track? Do we have youth inclusion? Are we really following the leave no one behind strategy, whereby we feel as young people that all of us are included? That is the question that we need to ask ourselves. And now that is where our voices, like, let us give information, let us involve ourselves in these processes of data collection and reporting and also monitoring. For example, maybe just to add on, is that Kenya reported this year on the National Voluntary Review. So it was a chance. Okay, I was part of a youth-led organization that is Art Affair for Development Goals, that we were reporting on SDG 8, that is on on matters to do with decent work and economic growth. So we moved around universities trying to engage young people. What is their view in terms of the inclusion or maybe their voices, their representation in the SDGs. So that on that we were able to get some of the feedback, and that is what we sent to maybe as our key recommendations. So what I can say is data collection and monitoring. That is very, very important. We need to train young people in data skills, that is data collection, analysis, reporting, and also enabling youth to contribute to the monitoring of SDGs, and then create open data platforms whereby young people can access, share, and contribute to the related SDG implementation. It is very, very important to also have these platforms for young people to contribute. And then very just in a nutshell, maybe I can also mention about network. Lillian talked about networks. And so I want to say that young people, if you look at SDG 17, it's on partnerships. Like right now, if we try to have a head count on the or maybe on the participants on this call, you'll find that most of them are founders and CEOs of youth-led organizations. So this is where now we call upon all of us to work together. What can we do together? What forms of partnerships can we have? So I think building strong relationships among ourselves, among the individuals, among our organization is very key. And we can have cross-sector partnerships between youth organizations, other stakeholders, including governments. We have the representation of NYC here. We have NGOs, the academia. I'm very, very glad that I've seen also on the call we have a representative from Najimudu Foundation. These guys really moved very well. Recently, they have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Mount Kenya University. That is a youth-led organization signing MOUs with the very, very big institutions like MKU. So it's very, very important for us to have cross-sector partnerships. You can also have the private sector so that we can leverage on resources and expertise. Let my fellow young people, there is something that I can be able to do which you cannot be able to do, and the vice versa is true. So if we come together and have these talks and also partnerships together, we can really very achieve a lot. And then global youth forums. I think it's also important for us to organize and also attend global youth forums. For example, the Youth Connect Summit. We have the Youth Energy Summit that is happening annually. These are platforms whereby young people can have their voices like heard, and also their information implemented. So I think that is what I can say. And yes, I want to allude to Lillian's Yoki that your network is your net worth. Thank you so much, and back to you, Sofina.
Well, thank you so much for those insights, Michael. So thank you to all of you who have also, just come into the chats. And I think I really love just picking up on the networks. I can see Tara Keith from OAY says, hello, Lillian. Thank you for the highlight on Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers. I'm Tara Keith from the Organization of African Youth Kenya, currently engaging young people in informal settlements of Nairobi on waste management. I'm reaching out to seek and contact the best avenues for partnership and collaboration. So Lillian, by the powers vested in me as moderator, I kindly request you to reach out to Tara Keith and see how that partnership can engage. So Tara, I think that's what such platforms are all about, us coming together, being able to share ideologies. But most importantly, I think for me, the strongest part, which I feel we might have been able to achieve, is having the next steps, practical next steps forward for us to be able to engage. King Ragnar says, I would like to appreciate for this sort of space and conversation. It's commendable and it's something powerful. Thank you so much, King, for that feedback. And you go on and say, I would appreciate if some of these conversations can even go to the ground level. Many people may not have the expertise that we've had from this conversation. And I think, Keith, at the back of our minds, that's one thing we are all keen about, that, even as we talk about technology, the question then will be, how many people really have access, say, to the social medias in our country, for example, to even have been able to see this? So how can we be very intentional on that integration of what you call the ground level? Okay, thank you. I see you've given us the link right there of an opportunity, and I want to appreciate Irene, who says thanks a lot, and just she agrees with the ideas that have been shared there, and same to Peter. So yeah, Lillian, thank you so much for the instant response. So as we come to a close, I think, Peter, I want to just more or less conclude this process with you, and really just very quickly, I'd like you to share with us your recommendations, but just also to acknowledge Christine Jimmy, who is a community development specialist who is engaging and is working towards registering a CBO of her own, where they are keen to positively transform the lives of the community. So Cynthia, thank you so much for also outlining that. Sorry, Christine, and all of us can be able to engage. So Peter, before you come in, I can see Lillian's hand is up. Lillian, I'll give you a minute. If you're speaking, you're muted.
Thank you, Sofina. So maybe just a quick response to Christine's text in the chat. Hi, Christine. So I noticed that you have an interest to register CBO. Maybe just to inform you, actually our country is in the process of phasing out CBOs and moving towards public benefit organizations. So in that, you can maybe look out for the Public Benefits Act, which came out sometimes last year, and the country is in the process of phasing out of the CBOs and moving towards registration of public benefit organizations rather than CBOs. Maybe that's something you can look at and inform your decision. Rather than registering a CBO, think around, would your team be interested in registering a public benefits organization? And you can reach out to me for more information on the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And then I see Flomina Musheke asks, how can we effectively advocate for volunteerism among all individuals to ensure the sustainability and long-term success of the SDGs? So Peter, as you come in to give your recommendations, maybe just talk about how can we, the spirit of volunteerism, how can we encourage that?
Okay, thank you once again, Sofina. I don't know whether you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Yes, a lot has been spoken, but let me echo on these few things. First of all, I will majorly focus on the CBOs, grassroots organizations, and NGOs. I think most of our discussions have been, in the boardroom. Let me say in the boardroom. There's no devolution. I have not seen the devolution of technology. Still, there's systematic inequalities. So let's not just hold such meetings in such platforms. But I will encourage, after we have done such meetings like the one we have had today, let's go back to the people, to the villages, and to let us reach out to people who are not able to join such meetings. Also, is the fact that these things are not new. These are not new. These are not new things. So what we can do is just to interlink them with, the current situations where we are in. And also, I think the youths are aware of the SDGs. What we need to do is just to involve them. Let's have a meaningful involvement with youths and young people. Also, I think that when you go, we have 4 categories of youths. We have the urban educated youths, the urban and educated. We have the rural educated and rural uneducated. So I think that the people in the rural areas think that things to do with sustainable development goals is, ni kitu ya town. In such a platform, for example, in this platform, if I may ask, ni watu wangapi wanatoka huko ushago? Utapata ni wachache sana. So let's not focus in the urban areas, but we need to go to the rural areas, make people aware of these things, make them, involve them generally. And then lastly, let's make the SDG language simpler. I will propose that even if it's possible, we can come up with a way on how we can transform these SDGs to our local languages so that we can reach everyone, because to attain sustainable development goal is a collective thing. So let's ensure that we don't leave anyone behind. Then lastly, let's not prescribe solutions to the local people. Let's make their own decisions, because problem na face is not the same problem that's faced by a person in Garissa or a person in any other areas. So let us involve everybody and bring them on board for collective, solution. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So once again, Michael Kishoyan, please allow me to direct this question to you, because I know you're very big on volunteerism and you've done quite a bit of volunteer work that has had an impact in our communities. So Michael, I want you in 1 minute really, just share how can we effectively advocate for volunteerism among individuals to ensure the sustainability and long-term success of the SDGs.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sofina, for that wonderful question. Maybe just to mention, I'm very, very much vocal about elimination of harmful practices, that is FGM, in pastoralist communities. And also I'm serving at the United Nations Population Fund Youth Advisory Panel representing Narok County. So maybe what I can say about the spirit of volunteerism is that first of all, let the young people understand, let an individual understand what really do you want to achieve. For instance, is it climate action? Then ride with that. And then, or maybe is it on gender equality? Ride with that. And then the next one, after now you identifying the niche or maybe what you want to do, is that look for an umbrella organization. Even if it is on a community organization or maybe a public benefit organization, be part of, and then now look for a consortium. Like look for platforms like that can now raise your hand, or maybe like can be able to help you both in terms of skill set, both in terms of financial help, and then now ride on network, and also tell the world what you do, tell people what you do at the grassroots level. Let me tell you, once you have the results on the ground, those are the results that will speak for you. For instance, I can confidently stand and say, I'm doing this and this concerning elimination of FGM. And even my friends know that anytime I speak, anytime I engage, I just mention that I'm doing something on elimination of FGM. And that is now what will give you a signature. If I can mention, let's say, for example, I can mention maybe I can mention Sarah, or maybe let's say Sarah. I can mention Sarah, and then I can say, oh, Sarah, let's say that one who is very, very much vocal on climate action. Yes, that is the person to reach out to. So I think the first one is know where you want to, what you want to do, find the right organizations, find the right people also to get networked to, and then now get information, research about what you want, what you're doing, know the figures, look at the United Nations, what is it saying on maybe climate change, look at what if, the United Nations, or maybe even the Kenya Demographic Health Survey report, what does it say, so that you can be able to quantify the work that you are doing. Also be very, very much intentional about quantifying the work that you do. How many people have you reached to? Is it 100 people? Let it be 100 people. Don't do an activity and come and tell us I reached out to 1,000 people in the community, and when we look at it, it's only 50 people. Be very, very intentional about numbers. That one will help you big time. And then lastly, I can also say that always find ways to find platforms to speak about what you do. Thank you so much, and back to you, Sofina.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, for that feedback. And that answer to one of the questions in our chat box. Also just want to acknowledge the continued networking that is taking place in the chat box. So to honor your time, being here on time, I think it's only proper that we also end well. And with that, please receive my hearty appreciation to our panel discussants. I think you've provided a lot of insight to the conversation today. And also just as a request, I think one of the key things that we're talking about is how we can be able to use technology to get information out. So I wish to request the organizers, once this is done, please sit down, get the key points, have them written in an article, and let's have that information permanently available by putting it up on the SDGs for Development pages, so that anyone who is interested in this conversation can always have access to it and can be able to be aware about the opportunities that have been shared here today. So with all that said and done, I want to thank all 42 of you for staying on since the beginning of this webinar. And right about now, I want to hand it back to Arnold Gekonge. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sofina, for that wonderful moderation and for covering the discussion on time. So we've taken note of the recommendations that have been put in place, and we'll act upon them and communicate to you via the email contact that you've shared when you are joining this activity. At this point, let me welcome the chairperson of the board of Champions for SDGs Youth to say a word, and then after that we close. Mr. Budoy Samuel. Go ahead, Samuel. Now you should be able to.
Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Thank you so much for just all the panelists for your broad perspective on SDGs and technology. I think this is a very crucial topic that mostly right now it's being talked about. So for those who don't know me, my name is Samuel Budoy. I'm joining you all from New York, and it's a pleasure to always serve as a chairperson for this amazing organization and youth-led organization. And I see the good work that they are doing. And I also urge, when you're talking about sustainability or sustainable, that is the key word. Look at yourself. how sustainable are your connection? That's one thing that I usually emphasize. When you meet someone today, how are you going to maintain that relationship? Are you just the person who always on the receiving end, and you always think about yourself? How do you have a mutual partnership with the person you meet today? If you're having a tool, a technology, be creative and innovative. Think of something unique. I was happy when Kate was discussing about monitoring of tree growing, and that's something that when I was working with Dr. Manu Chandaria, was one of my mentor on the 1 Million Tree campaign, which I happened to represent in last year in New Delhi during the C20 G20 summit. And I was sharing about the policy, and this is something that I was really talking about on sustainability of SDG number 13. So it's very crucial. And even right now, as we are growing so many trees, the government is coming up with also an app called Jazamiti. And if you look at that app, there's a lot of things that we may need to question. So if you are innovative, you go and sit with them and tell, hey, look here, there's this something that we are introducing, and they will be able to adapt. I usually say, you can't ask me for fuel if you don't have a car. And even if you are a brother of Cristiano Ronaldo, and today Cristiano Ronaldo happens to, I'm sorry, I'm next to Subway, so there's a train passing, but Cristiano Ronaldo happened today not to join maybe the match because he's injured. You can't go there and say, okay, he's my brother and I can play on his behalf. No, so there's something that you need to have, and there's something that God has blessed all of us, and you're very unique on your own. So go out there and do your very best. Go out there and make meaningful connection. Otherwise, I want to appreciate you. I don't want to take much of your time, and I want to wish you all the best, and appreciating all the panelists and all the guests who have managed to join us. Thank you so much. Here it's 6 a.m. in the morning, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for waking up early to join us for this conversation, Udoy, and for those remarks. So I invite all of us to look in the chat, and there is a poll that is asking to see our level of understanding at the end of the conversation. So please respond to it. Let's just take 30 seconds to give our response. In the chat, there's a poll that is asking, how would you rate your understanding on how technology can be used to contribute to implementation of the SDGs? You can say, I do not understand at all. You can say, I understand to a certain extent, or I understand very well. 10 more seconds. Five seconds. So thank you so much for all those who have responded. It's now closed, and I can see that for those who responded, most say I understand very well, and a few, 3 say I understand to a certain extent. No one says I understand. No one says I do not understand at all. So that is encouraging to see. And at this point, I'd like just again to say thank you to everybody who made time for this, and wish you a great weekend ahead. Looking forward to connecting with you again in subsequent activities. Our next activity will take place on 30th of August. It will be in person in Nairobi, but we'll share more details on that so that you can know how to engage in it, sharing more information of the SDGs and how youth can engage in the process. There has been a request in the chat on whether there can be a WhatsApp platform. There is already an existing Ma Youth Na SDGs WhatsApp group, which was created during a past SDGs Youth pre-conference. And every year, young people who participate in Ma Youth Na SDGs conversations are welcome to join that platform, where opportunities related to SDGs at national, regional and global levels can be shared. So we'll definitely send you that link onto your emails, and you can join and be part of the Ma Youth Na SDGs community. Up to that point, it's thank you. My name is Arnold Gekonge from Champions for SDGs Youth, and we are glad that we could have you on board, and especially to our speakers, Kate Andere, Yeswa, Peter, Lillian, Michael, and Omadon Collins. We wish Margaret Kiogora and Tracy Osogo a quick recovery, as they were not able to join us for being unwell, but we hope to see each other next time. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.